Last month, the Power of the Daleks received a Special Edition DVD and Blu-ray release, following some improved animation works on the story in time for the 100th birthday of Second Doctor actor Patrick Troughton. So, instead of reviewing this story for the third time, for me personally, as I've reviewed the story when it came out originally in the animation on my main channel at the start of 2017, and again as part of my big Doctor Who marathon on the Retro channel in 2019, and also this channel has also had its own review by Ollie Everett back in 2016 when the story came out. So instead of reviewing the story for the third time for me and for the second time for the Whoniversals, I thought I'd just touch upon the Special Edition version of the story, just to mention a few of the changes and to see whether it's worth getting the DVD and or Blu-ray of this release. So, to begin with, the animation is a little bit more touched up. I'm not a big expert on animation, I'm not a huge expert, but I think there are quite a few notable differences to the 2016 version. I also own the 2016 version on both DVD and Blu-ray. I just realised I haven't gotten it out to show. Oh well, never mind. But I think the animation there was good. I thought that was really good. Maybe even a step up to some of the ones that they'd done for the previous releases that were done before BBC Studios got to make their own animated episodes. And I think for a start, that was really good. I think it was all handled really well, especially since they only had 5 or 6 months to do it instead of 8 to 10, which they intended to, due to having the release coincide with the 50th anniversary of the story's release itself. There's a little bit in the booklet that's included in the 2020 release that actually talks a little bit about this. They actually talk a little bit more on the deadline production side in the booklet. That's not really mentioned in the 2016 DVD 2017 Blu-ray booklets. But they mention it in the 2020 releases booklet. The animation in the 2021 is, like I said, slightly different. I think it's also slightly darkened as well, and I think it's supposed to match the animation of the more recent releases, like the Macroteer and the Faces ones, and maybe even Shada 2017, to be more in line with those ones, as well as a update of the 2016 ones. And I think for the most part it is a strong update. There might have been a few places where they could have improved a bit more, but I think it's a step up in animation terms, and it is once again great to see the story in some great animation, and maybe even a bit more of a darker animation at that, which makes it stand out a little bit more to the lighter animation in the previous version. And there are definitely some shots that are done a little bit differently, and I think that works better for some of the story, and it works really well here. So I think the Special Edition of Power of the Daleks is definitely at least a step up to the 2016 version, but it's still very similar. They do have quite a lot of similarities, and they obviously didn't change an awful lot. They stuck to what they had, but they just improved it a little bit. And yeah, I think it is like I said, I think it is a step up from that one, but it does follow that one as a good basis on where to improve and what to do better in places. Also, as we're talking about the DVD and Blu-ray releases themselves, the special features are brilliant. I actually watched all of the special features apart from the photo gallery and the reconstruction, as well as the shooting scripts. Oh yeah, I do have to mention whilst getting up this DVD, the DVD casing is not the typical classic series grey or silver, but instead it's a clear white one. I was very confused when I first got this, and I know a lot more people were even more pissed off than I was. But it turns out that, or at least this is what I heard via Twitter, that there's a company or factory that make silver or grey DVD cases, and they weren't able to make ones for Doctor Who due to lockdown reasons, so Power of the Daleks had to be the clear case, which, to be honest, clear does work really well, because then you can have the opposite side reflect inside the case, just like on the Blu-ray. If it's a clear case. If it was plain white or plain black, it would not have worked, but having a clear one is a it's not the silver one that we all know and love from the classic series range, but it's at least the next best thing, having the clear cases. I know the new series individual ones have clear cases as well. Blu-rays, I believe, are exactly how they are. Oh yeah, this is the second cover, the second cover for this one. I put the DVD, I keep the DVD one in the first cover, and I put the Blu-ray one in the second cover, the reversible cider ones, although I do have a little bit of a play around with both. Although I will, I'll quickly show you the, yeah, this is basically, again, you can see through the Blu-ray one. And whilst we're here on the cover, oh boy, they cut off the Dalek side here. Back in 2013, they can easily put layer some of the image over the roundel section, or they could have easily made the picture smaller, or move the Dalek down, move it down a little bit. But yeah, it just looks a little bit awkward on that bit. That's only for the Blu-ray though, I believe. I think the DVD one is fine because the DVD is bigger, so they can include more space, and on the main cover images it's not really much of a problem. It's just that bit on the Blu-ray, because it's lower down, so they cut off part of the eye. Really they should have layered it over, or moved the Dalek down a little, or Dalek or the image down a little bit. Anyway, on to special features, and unlike the Faceless ones, where I was very disappointed with the extras, there was one documentary and a few other extras in there, including a few from the Deep trailer, but there was barely much in there. They got 3 disc set, but apart from for spatial reasons, they needed to bothered, because that release had very few extras that were worth talking about. Special features on the Power of the Daleks Special Edition are not only as good as the original release, but they're even better. Besides audio commentary and animation gallery on the first disc, you also get the reconstruction version on the second, the 1993 audiobook, I have not listened to that either, the BBC One trailer, surviving footage compilation, original film title sequence film, Dalek session recording, incidental music, photogrammetry, which is talking about how they recreate a place or object in 3D, and a photo gallery. Some good stuff in here, and if you want to watch the reconstruction or listen to the audiobook or the photo gallery, or the incidental music on their own, they're really great. Some of these extras are brought over from the original release, but then we get to disc 3 and we got quite a few new extras. We got the script-to-screen documentary, which may have been from the original release. It's a great behind-the-scenes documentary. There's a behind-the-scenes featurette where Mike Tucker recreates the Dalek production line models in actual models, just for a special new recreation of that with old camera film and models. Not only do we get the CGI version in the actual animation story, but we get the model one as a bonus extra. We got the documentary Servants and Masters, The Making of the Power of the Daleks, which is a 2016 extra. Then we get Wicker's World, A Handful of Horrors, I Don't Like My Own Monsters to Have Oedipus's Complexes, which is a episode of the programme Wicker's World, and it's looking into horror in TV and film, and it includes a section about the Daleks, as well as a bit where they go and see Dalek creator Terry Nation at his estate. I believe this part of this section is included in the More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS documentary, and maybe in some other DVD featurettes, but we get to see the full episode of Wicker's World on this DVD, the full episode where these clips are included. Wicker's World is also the reason why the Power of the Daleks Special Edition is rated 12 in the UK and Ireland, I suppose. Well, the episodes are rated PG, as we can see on disc 1. By the way, this is the first Doctor Who release to feature the new 2019-20 certifications. They were introduced in cinemas for 2019, and from April to October 2020 we'll be getting these certifications being introduced on releases. But some of the older releases, like for Doctor Who for example, Season 14 Blu-ray box set and Series 12 DVD and Blu-ray and Steelbook Blu-rays, they'll still use the older ones, but from April to October there'll be a mix of old and new 2002, 3 and 2019 20 certifications, but the 2002 to 3 ones will be off new releases, new DVD and Blu-ray releases by end of October, and you'll be getting the new age ratings on DVD and Blu-ray releases certainly from November onwards, if it's not already become the norm. which I believe it has, as many releases now are adopting the new certifications, but there is still time for the older ones to be used until they're phased out. That's not to say that the old certification DVD and Blu-ray releases will not be sold after this point. It's just that new DVD and Blu-ray releases will feature the old certifications. It's the same with the 1989 certifications. Video DVDs are still being sold to this day, despite having 2 replacement certification graphics by this point. But anyway, going back to the reasons why the citations are a 12 for the release of not a PG. Well, the episodes are a PG, and so are the extras on disc 2, but Wicker's World boosts the age rating for disc 3 up to a 12, and therefore the age rating overall, and the same for Ireland, which do not appear to have changed their age ratings recently. Anyway, we also have the documentary Daleks: The Early Years, which talks a bit more about bits about the Dalek stories from the 1960s, as some of the episodes are missing, and then we have some introductions to episodes from the Daleks Master Plan, episodes 5 and 10, and episode 2 of the Evil of the Daleks, as those episodes were being included on that VHS release back in the day. Of course, now they're on the Lost in Time DVD box set, which was released following the discovery of the Daleks Master Plan Part 2, and the Evil of the Daleks is a very popular story to be given a animation remake by audiences. That's one of the ones that people are hoping for to be next, or an upcoming one. The Wheel in Space is also one people are hoping for, and considering that Evil follows the Faceless Ones, which was the previous animation story, and that the Wheel in Space got its first 10 minutes animated in 2018 and released with the Macra era, and the fact that it follows the Faceless One, Fury from the Deep, the next story to be released, which will actually be out next month. Surprisingly, it's coming out in September, not October, November, which I predicted, or later because of COVID-19, or the frequent delays that both the animated stories and the complete collection Blu-ray box sets have featured over the last 2 years. Not featured, felt over the, well, not so much the animated stories, but definitely the collection Blu-rays have felt over the last few years. But yeah, it's coming out next month, surprisingly. But we'll see about future animations. Like I said with the Faceless Ones review, they could probably animate them from home, like we saw in that documentary. So it probably wouldn't be too difficult for them to animate projects once they knew what they were doing, and once they got an idea of what they were doing, and once they had their meetings. Anyway, we also have Robin Hood, the Abbots of St. Mary's, or at least what's left of that episode of Robin Hood, the earliest surviving appearance of Patrick Troughton on television. I'm not sure which episode of the show it was, but it's the earliest surviving episode of that show, or at least what's left of it, because I think it's supposed to be 25 minutes, but what's actually there is about 8 minutes or so. And then we got BBC South Today footage and BBC Wales footage, where we got some newsreels about BBC stuff going down in Southampton and in Wales, respectively, with narration by Richard Lasso. And we got some stuff about the 2016 animated version of the story being included. Blue Peter, Newsnight, BBC Breakfast, and radio spots, or radio animations. We also have some animation trailers, which were for that 2016 release, animation test footage, and animatics for those bits, and ROM content, including the script work. So there is a lot of extras on this DVD and Blu-ray release. There is a lot more stuff, and this is a massive step up from the Faceless Ones DVD and Blu-ray, which didn't really feature that much. Although one extra that does not feature on this DVD and Blu-ray that was going to be on here was the Highlanders. I'm not quite sure exactly what about. It was either a trailer or maybe the first couple minutes or something. It probably wouldn't be in the whole thing. But it was either a trailer for the Highlanders or an animated version of an original trailer, like the Ice Warriors has one of those on its DVD, or a short bit of the Highlanders, like the Wheel in Space on the Macra DVD and Blu-ray. However, this one's not included, probably due to spatial reasons, and it may be included on Fury from the Deep's release. Whether the Highlanders will be the release following Fury from the Deep is uncertain. I also saw a couple of reviews on Amazon, and there was one that was really pissed off that the Highlanders was not being included on this release, and that was really their only review. The Highlanders is not on this release, therefore I'm only giving this release 2 stars. That is not a good review. That is a bad review. That is not good criticism. Yeah, I'm disappointed the Highlanders did not get released as an extra on this DVD or on this Blu-ray, which is exactly the same bit on Blu-ray. But if it's going to be on Fury from the Deep, then at least we could get that. It's on that one. And maybe even better still if it's going to be a full animation story that will be coming up later in the future. So don't worry, don't panic. It's either going to be appearing on the next release, or it will be the release afterwards, or a upcoming release anyway. We'll see. And no trailer for Fury from the Deep on these releases, by the way. So that's a bit odd. But yeah, that's the extras, and they are fantastic extras. Do check them out, and they are worth getting this story. I know a lot of people have been saying it's a cash-in, and they're releasing it again to get more money, but this story, these new releases, it's better animation, maybe more clean and updated one, and the extras are magnificent. I've seen some people say this is what the original release should have been like, and whilst I can say yeah, that original release was also pretty good as well in its own way. With the extras they did have, I mean, if you take out all the promotion for the 2016 release, then you do have a few extra stuff that could have been included on that original release. I think the trailers might have been, but some of the stuff from disc 3 could have been included on that original release. Fair enough. But that original release was actually pretty good, and so was the Sharda and Macroterror ones. If it was any of the releases that got bad releases in terms of special features, then it would be Faceless ones. Fury from the Deep, you must have more extras than Faceless ones, because that was one 45-minute documentary, a few mini featurettes, and a Fury from the Deep trailer, and that was really about it. Oh, and the reconstruction version, of course. Oh yeah, and just to wrap it up, the colour version is... There is no colour version, actually. There is no colour version of the Power of the Daleks. Disc 1 is the story in black and white, and with the commentary and gallery and the animated gallery, and there's no colour version. They do not update this version in colour. This one wasn't actually made in colour originally. That started with Sharda. BBC America did ask for the full version in colour, and they've asked for all of them since then. But for this release, they do not update the colour version of the animation. Maybe there'll be a re-release of that later down the line, which means more money for us. Maybe that's why we don't have a special edition steelbook for this release. Then again, I don't think we need a steelbook for any of them apart from the Power of the Daleks original Blu-ray release, which was the steelbook. But even then, that included the DVD discs with the story in black and white and colour, and Blu-ray discs of the story in colour and black and white. So they could have easily put the colour version on a DVD and Blu-ray disc on this release. It could have gone on to disc 2, perhaps, and moved maybe one or two extras from disc 2 onto disc 1. Or it might even have become a 4-disc set, the first classic series DVD released to be 4 discs. Blu-ray, it probably would have still been able to be 3 discs, so they seem to be able to have more space on Blu-ray discs. So overall, the Power of the Daleks Special Edition DVD and Blu-ray are definitely worth getting. The animation is updated for the story, and they definitely seem to have cleaned it up a little bit more, and it's much more in line with the more recent animated releases. And the special features are definitely must view. They are absolutely brilliant. Although I will say with the Wicked's World one, if you are prone to squeamism or being a bit unwell, it might be best to skip that one. I certainly got a bit starting to feel not so good just before the end. About 10 minutes before the end, I started to feel not so good. But if you can stick through it, then it's fine. It's about 35 to 45 minutes, that episode. It's actually a pretty good documentary if you want to learn a bit more about horror at the time, then not just in Doctor Who, but have Doctor Who mentioned as well, but you get to have a bit more of the horror stuff around it. The Dalek Early Years documentary is also really great, and this is the first time such a documentary is featured on this disc, as is the audiobook version by Tom Baker. Well, on visual disc anyway, it might have been included on CD. So yeah, this is a great release. I know some people think it's just a cash-in, but in all honesty, they do improve the animation, and they do have a lot more and quite a few great special features. So I definitely recommend it. Also, if you were unable to get the story on Blu-ray the first time it came around, then you can definitely be able to get it on the second time round. So if you want to get the Blu-ray, but you missed out on the 2017 Steelbook Blu-ray, which included the colour version, then you can get the Special Edition Blu-ray to make up for that. There's no colour version, but you'll at least get to see the story on Blu-ray in high definition, and it's even better animation than the original version. So, yeah, that's so no colour version, but the black and white one is slightly improved, so that makes up for it. Hopefully, it would have been nice to have the colour version on there, but yeah, oh well, never mind. We still got the Steelbook version out there if we can get a hold of that one to watch the colour version. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.